Good morning and welcome to the Gita in Action podcast. My name's Radha. I'm here with our family of seekers. We're reading through the Gita verse by verse. And today I think we're going to finish the ninth chapter. Not I think, we are. We're going to finish the ninth chapter. We may even get into the overview a little bit. But we're going over a really important verse today of the Gita. Acharyas call it the essence of the essence of the essence of the essence of the Gita. And so we'll go into that a little bit more and why they call it, they have so many essences in there. Um, but yes, chapter 9, text 34 is where we're going to start today. Chapter 9, text 34. And before we do that, Stella, do you want to say our prayers for us this morning?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jana Jana Salakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Gadamayam Tadati Svapadantikam Vanchakopa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you. Thank you, Stella. All right, let's start. Let's start with 934. I will share my screen. And Stella, again, whenever
I
you're
know, I
ready.
was just um Mama na bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskaru mam evayasi yuktvaivam atmanam patparayanaha. Engage your mind always in thinking of me. Become my devotee. Offer obeisances to me and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me.
Thank you. So, at first glance here, Krishna's instruction sounds pretty simple, right? Just fix your mind on me. But if we want to like double click that and really kind of zoom in here, what kind of thinking is he actually asking for? Because there's different ways that we can think about people or things. We can think about someone a lot without offering any love at all. Without any love in our heart, we could just think of somebody. We can analyze something, we can study it, we can even just like obsess over it and still not feel a real connection to it. So that's not what he's talking about here. That kind of thinking is cold, it's clinical. It's like somebody examining something in a laboratory. They're interested. They maybe even are impressed, but their heart isn't moved. They're not really connected. So that's not what he's asking for here. He's not asking for a distant intellectual relationship. He's asking for a kind of thinking that's gentle and open-hearted and transformative. That's what Krishna's really asking for from us here. The kind of thinking that creates space for connection. So he says, become my devotee. So in other words, he's saying, don't just think about me, but let me matter to you.
You're frozen, Radha.
Oh no. Gosh, I don't know why my internet. Just one second, I'm going to switch my internets. See if this helps.
There she
Okay.
is.
Is this good now?
Yeah, you were frozen.
Okay. Thank you. Please let me know if I go frozen again. So we're just saying that Krishna is saying, not just saying, um, he's saying, don't just think about me, but let me matter to you. Become my devotee. Let me matter to you. So when we think of Krishna, when we think of Krishna with openness and sincerity, he enters the heart naturally. And the beautiful thing is that Krishna is such an attractive conception of divinity that simply remembering him with warmth begins to soften us. The heart opens on its own. So that's why Krishna gives us these practices, and not as rules, but as like supports to help us. Worship me, offer obeisances, engage your bodies, or engage your body. This isn't just like empty rituals. They're ways of training affection. He's ultimately saying, offer me your attention, offer me your heart, offer me your actions at every level. You see physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Bring yourself into relationship with me. So there's quite a distinction here. It's not just know me, it's not just study me, analyze me. There's a difference. No, it's let me matter to you. Develop connection with me, develop relationship with me at every level, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. And this is what the practice of bhakti is all about. The practice of bhakti gives us all different ways that we can connect with God physically, mentally, emotionally. And because that's what he's interested in. He's interested in relationship with us. So he says that, and then he makes a bold promise here. He says, if you do this, you will come to me. If you invest your mind, your heart, your emotions in me, you will come to me. Why? Because when our body, our mind, our heart are orientated towards God, our consciousness naturally follows. We know that, right? We say there's even like a saying that we use when where our attention goes, energy flows. We see that. We see that in the material world, wherever we invest our energy. This is wherever we're investing our time, our resources. This is where consciousness goes. So God's telling us this. Invest your body, your mind, your heart in me. Your consciousness will naturally follow, and therefore you'll come to me. And this isn't something that we force, or we can fake, but it's something that grows. Our little bhakti creeper grows when all parts of us are moving in that same direction. So it's simple in concept, but in practice it can be a little difficult because it's so easy. Distractions of the world get in our way. We get attached to what's ever in front of us, and all of a sudden we're obsessed with investing all of our energy into that. The goal of the year, whatever it is that we're trying to do. And it's so easy to forget or put off spiritual life. Oh, I'll do this when I get a little bit older. It'll matter more. But Krishna's telling us, practice this now. Invest your body, your mind, your heart towards me. You will come to me. And the beautiful thing about bhakti, I love Aaron. Aaron posted something in our live chat this week. It was about how the Gita is really just for people that live in the real world. It's not like the sutras, which is more kind of contemplative and about meditation, and which is wonderful. But the Gita really teaches us how we can live in this world but not be even of this world. And we do that by exactly what Krishna is telling us here, investing our body, our mind, our hearts towards Krishna, even when we're doing our duties of this world. So what we're doing on the outside, it could look the exact same. Two people could be doing the exact same thing, but with totally different consciousness. And depending on their consciousness, depends on their next destination, whether in this material world or in the next world, or in the spiritual world, wherever their consciousness is. So this is the Gita for us. And before I go on, does anybody want to share anything here? My computer's telling me my internet connection is unstable. Can you guys all see me? Can you hear me fine?
Yes, now it's
Yes,
better.
yes.
Yeah.
I can
I just,
connect to my hotspot if it's going in and out. I don't know. Sometimes my home computer is just not good.
Hare
but
Krishna, that was such a brilliant opening. That was so great. And that's such a good question to open up this verse. I can't say I've ever thought of it before. I really loved it. Thank you.
Ah,
Yes, it was so beautiful.
yeah, the
thank you.
matter to me. I've never heard the matter to me either. So I think
Mm,
we're all feeling you. Thank you.
yeah, make him matter to me. Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, let me just switch to my hotspot and we'll go into the next spot here. This should be better. Okay, I think we're good now. All right, so this next part I want to talk about devotion. When we talk about devotion, devotion is often mistaken for emotion. Devotion is often mistaken for emotion. And devotion in one sense it encompasses emotion, but but not all emotion is devotion. Okay, and then so they're not the same thing. So let's go into this a little bit more. So again, sometimes devotion shows up as emotion. And these moments can be very real and very beautiful. We've all experienced this. You may be experiencing it, you may be experiencing it when you're in this class. You might feel a wave of peace or sweetness when you visit a sacred place. You might feel your heart soften when you hear a devotional song. You may feel moved just by when you see the deities. And so these experiences can be deeply nourishing, and they absolutely have a place in spiritual life. But if we reduce devotion to emotion alone, our spiritual growth becomes unsteady. Why? Because emotions aren't always available to us. Because in our present conditioned stage, the mind's moods heavenly, like very heavily influence what we can feel on any given day. So some days the heart feels open and inspired. Other days it feels dull or distracted or dry. And that doesn't mean that anything is wrong. Okay, we have to expect this. This is the modes of nature are gonna be doing their work on us 24/7, until we transcend them. So this is why Krishna is expanding our understanding of devotion. He doesn't define it as only a feeling. So it's not just a feeling. He defines it as a relationship expressed through action. And if we think about marriage, many of us here are married or have been married. When you think about marriage, there's moments of deep emotion, where you feel love, you feel closeness, you feel romance. But anyone who's been married for a little while would say marriage, like no one would say that marriage is only those feelings. If somebody just said, I'm committed to this relationship only when I feel emotionally inspired, it's like that's like a death sentence for for the relationship, right? We all know that. Because the reality is you're just not always going to feel emotionally inspired, even if you really care for that person. So a sustainable relationship, it has to be two ways. So both people show up, both invest, both remain present, especially when the feelings aren't front and center. So marriage is there's so many things we can learn in a marriage about relationships and ultimately relationship with God. Because devotion works the same way. If when we equate devotion only with emotion, we just focus on that one side of the relationship. So what am I feeling right now? Is Krishna revealing sweetness to me? Am I inspired today? But a real relationship also asks the other questions, which is how am I showing up for him? And this is where bhakti yoga comes in. And I think of this time I managed Super Soul Farm for a while, and there were things about that service that were just extremely difficult. And I remember one morning I woke up early and I was chanting, and um and one of my teachers was asleep in a room nearby, and I was chanting. It was like 4 a.m. 4 a.m. and I was just chanting. And so he gets up later in the morning. I said, "Oh, how'd you sleep?" He said, "Terrible. You're chanting all night." And I was like, "I'll tell you, I'm having such a hard time." And I just kind of like started sharing my heart with him. And I'm like, I don't know what else to do, but just like I just cry to my deities, and it just like makes me feel a little bit better. And I forget exactly how the conversation went, but I told him just how like desperate I was, and how I really felt a lot of shelter. And he told me something, it wasn't like necessarily saying that was bad, but what he was trying to kind of widen my definition of devotion to not just I need you there for me, but how can I show up for you? And in that he was saying, well, you really don't want to chant to them in the middle of the night when they're sleeping, and trying to kind of tweak my consciousness to have a little bit more consideration for God. We tend to think this is just all about me. He's there for me. God's my Amazon Prime whenever I'm desperate, whenever, and that's true. God's there for us whenever we need him. But in bhakti, when we start to evolve in bhakti, that definition, we kind of start to get a more refined idea of relationship and understanding that it goes two ways, and that the strongest relationship is reciprocal. So
Yeah.
it's God shows up for me. How can I show up for God? How can I show up for God? And bhakti gives us all kinds of ways to do that, and all kinds of, and when you talk about deity worship, there's all kinds of like rules and regulations, which again, we don't want to get caught up in, but we want to understand the essence and the principle that is trying to teach us and trying to show us is that if again, as our consciousness evolves and we grow in our bhakti practice, we want to kind of start to transition to that. How can I show up? Because that is love. Right? Love is expressed as service. So how can I serve God? Not always how can God serve me? Because that's kind of like a child's mentality. When I look at my daughter, she's all about her. She's like, "Mom, I'm hungry. Mom, I'm tired. Mom, I want to play. Mom, why aren't you paying attention to me?" I mean, that is my daughter. And she's 1 year old. And I love her, unconditionally. But she just doesn't have the consciousness to think, what can I do for mom? How can I make mom's day better? And but anybody who's had kids, you see as they grow, hopefully this starts to evolve. As their consciousness grows, they do start to care. And you see this probably sooner than later. Like they want to help you unload the dishwasher, or they want to, be there for you in some capacity. So this is the evolution of consciousness. We see it in children, we see it in relationships. God's, we also need to see this in our relationship with God, and try to work towards it. And I remember that conversation with my teacher that day at Super Soul Farm. It was kind of like eye-opening for me. Actually, when he said that, I was like, "What?" I was like such a little baby. I was like, "What? What does that even mean?" It was like, "Whoa." And I thought a little like, I cannot do that. I am not there right now, which is okay. Maybe you won't be, but know that's where we want. That's where we want to go. That's where we're trying to go, and that in that reciprocal relationship is really where the highest level of connection and joy and fulfillment exists for us all. What do you think, Aaron?
I think I really needed to hear this right now. I remember like a few months back you had shared that like your goal with your chanting um was to like that you feel really good when you chant and you like um go to it for that sometimes, and that you were trying to like reframe that kind of relationship and think of like, you know, how is this chanting being of service and like that mood of service? And I was just like, what? Like that's crazy. Like, no, I'm trying to like just control my mind to get to that feel good feeling. But I really like thought about that a lot, and it's so like obviously perfect timing to talk about this because just this week the Radhadesh Mellows was going, the Kirtan Festival was going on, and they stream it on YouTube. So I just have started, they're like 11-hour streams, like it's a lot of Kirtan. So I just started on day one. I'm like, I don't know, 4 hours in, like not even that far in. But one of the Kirtaniyas, and I can't remember who right now. Oh, Amala.
Yeah.
He's reading about Ayendra Prabhu, and he's quoting him and saying um, that like the point of kirtan is not to feel spiritual. Like the point is to serve the name. And I was just like, I've just been thinking about it. It's been just a couple of days, but like I've been thinking about it since then. And because at the beginning, I'm only here now because I had very deep spiritual feelings when I first went to kirtan, and I was like, oh, is that bad? Is that like bad that that's what like hooked me in and brought me back? Um, and then I've been like, well, no, that's not bad, because like it is all about like the heart and the internal feelings and like opening the heart and like, you know, not the externals and what is going on the inside. So I've been really like going back and forth about this, for the last couple of days. And I feel like everything you said makes a lot of sense. Um, but it's just interesting to hear like the same message. I feel like that's yoga, that is bhakti. It's like we hear the same message over and over again, and like at some point it hits differently, or like you just sit with it a little differently and you're like, oh, I'm supposed to chant the holy name. Like, I don't know. And you're just like, oh, that's what they mean.
Yes. Yes. It's beautiful and perfect and so timely. It's interesting. Our little baby consciousness goes into relationship with what can I get out of this? What's in this for me? How is this going to make my life better? How's this going to, and that's not bad, but it's just not as evolved. So as we evolved, we realize how much connection, how much rasa, how much is available in that service. And to the degree that it can be selfless, it's even more is available, even more of that connection and love and joy. So that's really what we're working towards. Yeah. Anybody ever been in a relationship where the person won't let you serve them? This is my husband has a little bit of this. Like he will serve me
Right.
unlimitedly. But for me, letting me serve him, it's like pulling teeth. It's so difficult. It's even to find out what he wants or what would make him happy and that's a tough thing. I feel that. I'm like, it's because we feel the most connected when we're serving our beloved. Yeah. Marjorie, you're on mute, Marjorie.
Thank you so much. My goodness, it's so nice to hear you and be here again. And I love when you said about, how did you phrase it? Let me matter to you.
Mm.
And you're saying about, so you were saying about investing our heart, emotions, body. So I have a mixed feelings because you were saying about investing all of it, and body, it's only part of it. And I guess I'm just looking from a different perspective, because I completely agree that the actions are so important. Yet, if there's no heart involved and mind, which is mean absorption, to me, we are missing 2/3 of it, or however you want to look at it. Because even the Shravanam Kirtanam, you could think there's not much action there. Thinking of Krishna, it's internal action. What does worship is external act, but worship can be internal. So to me, it's really all of it. And actually, the action could be devoid of heart, and Krishna is not going to like it. I mean, see, if we don't invest our heart and mind, the actions are going to be like, if you would, if what you are serving your husband, if there was no heart and emotions, what's the point of the relation? There needs to
Mhm.
be there.
You know, so one, you're totally right. You're totally right in that our heart is the most important. This is it. I mean, that's like the main course here is offering our heart. But Krishna is so merciful that even if, it's like, have you ever had just like a rough day? You're totally not there. Everything's going wrong, but somehow you muster up some kind of motivation to maybe sit and chant or sit in a kirtan or, offer something. And then all of a sudden, even though your heart wasn't really there at the beginning, it starts to change.
Yeah, yeah,
So sometimes, even if our heart isn't quite there because
of
we're
course.
overcome by a mode or deep in our own, Krishna is so merciful that just by engaging our senses or our body, he'll bring us there.
Yeah,
And so what you're saying is, yes, we ideally that's where we are. But the reality is we're not always there. So it's
yeah,
like even if you're not there in that moment, just whatever you do have, your senses, you can offer
yeah.
your senses to, and the rest will follow. It works both ways by
Yes,
Krishna's
definitely.
mercy.
Because you're absolutely right. That's why it's so important to engage our body, because it's the easiest.
Exactly.
It's the easiest to do
Exactly.
it.
Right.
And yeah,
There's a thing of acting as if that sometimes can bring out, if you're even just a simple thing of, they say that if you smile, even though you're not, it helps lift your mood. Like, and sometimes, especially in a marriage, you do have to act as if you have the affection in your heart. And after a while, you do, like, so there's a balance. It's, it's like you're surfing that wave. Um, but mainly you're showing up.
yeah,
You're just showing up, whether you feel it or not. Um, and eventually the feeling will come back if you're sincere. And it always does. I've found over many years, even when I'm not feeling it at all. And um, sometimes if I act as if with a sincere intention of just, this is the process, it comes back.
yeah, yeah,
Yes. Exactly. And that's what the difference is there is what you said, it's you're sincere. So you still
Yeah.
want it, even though you could say, I'm not there right now. In fact, I'm a little bit resentful towards God, but I
Yeah.
don't want to be. This is
Right.
just,
The
yeah.
longing, the longing, the
Yes.
longing for longing.
Yes, exactly. Very nice. Anybody else?
I'd like to say experience I had with Tamal Krishna Goswami
Yes,
um,
please.
in the temple room in Dallas. It was pretty early on. It was in the 90s. And I was new to like temple experience. And it was after Mangal Arti during Japa. And it's such a beautiful temple room. And there were all these people chanting. And I was just really feeling it. Talk about feeling it. And I started to cry um, during while I was chanting, and I'm just like a total neophyte, But I was really feeling these spiritual emotions. And he was at the opposite end of the temple room. He got up, walked all the way across the temple room to where I was sitting in the back corner, and he said, "I need a word." So I had to stand up, and we went into the middle of the temple room, the only people standing, and he very quietly said, "Don't show your emotion. Keep it internal." And I was like, Okay, and he said for two reasons. One, that you're distracting the other devotees, So one way to serve the holy name is to facilitate others' absorption in their own chanting and hearing. And two, people could think you're more advanced than you are. And then he said, and what you're feeling is real, but it's just a shadow of what the real emotion is. You're not there yet. Just imagine how much better it will be, but keep it internal so it can grow inside your heart.
Wow.
Which I thought was pretty wild. And then and then I went back to sit down, and I thought, wow, that's an advanced devotee.
Wow.
And yet, that does not mean you can cry at home.
Oh, you could cry all you want at home. But if you're in a temple setting like that.
Right, the temple is different. Yeah.
Thank you. Beautiful story. Thank you, Stella. Narayani, did you have something to share? I feel like your hand was up at one time, but you might have got caught up in some work obligation. Oh, good. Can you
Hare
share?
Krishna. I actually wanted to say something, but it's all good. I can speak now, very brief. What you said about the teacher telling you that you should also consider Krishna
Yeah.
because he's sleeping, that made me think of something that I heard once, and there's a chance it was the same person. I heard that for Mangala Arti, that it suggests, or that was a suggestion to sing very softly. You know, the some Guruvasaka, Samsaradara, to sing it very softly because Krishna is just waking up. And I've heard other things, when I got training to dress the deities, then the Pujari, he really stressed to treat the deities as a person, to be very careful with the needles when you put a dress on, and don't bump into the deity with your elbow, and just be very, very careful. And when you build up this mindset of like constantly thinking how how is it for Krishna? Do I wake him up because it's the middle of the night because I feel sad or so, or in the morning, being very careful because he's just still sleeping, and I mean, nobody wants to get bumped into. So that there's so many points on that consideration, and that just made me think of when you shared your experience that you had at Super Soul Farm. Haribol, that was it.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Yeah, and the beautiful thing is, if we're really just feeling desperate, we need to wake Krishna up. He'll happily wake up for us. But at the same time, try to start kind of cultivating this other side of the relationship mentality. And you could be thinking, well, God doesn't need to sleep, or God's not worried about how loud music is. But if we could start to develop that level of consideration for God, I know it might even sound a little bit funny, because it's like God really needs to sleep. Come on. But we start to consider that level of consideration for God, it will just naturally be, it will just like naturally manifest in our consciousness that we start to just always think of God. And this is what God is looking for. This is how he's trying to reel us in. We see flowers, we think, wow, which one would Krishna like the most? And is this music too loud for Krishna? Could this be a little bit abrasive for him? Just like my child, constantly thinking what she needs, and in that, my consciousness is always on her. So in our deity worship, it kind of starts to train us in that same way, so that Krishna is just always on our consciousness. And in this way, God becomes the center of our lives and our thoughts and our hearts. Eventually, that's what we're trying to do here. Yeah. So,
Hare Krishna.
yeah.
Yeah, two
I was
two
gonna say,
things. First of all, I had a question, but I think you sort of answered it. I was going to ask if you could say a little more about training or affection, and you just did. So, so thanks. I'd love to hear always more about that. Like, how can we train our affection? That that phrase really blew me away earlier. And I also just have to say that Erin kind of made my day, and I'm really happy about it and trying to be happy in the right way, I guess. When she said about Amala reading from the Ayendra book, and it's something he does a lot, and I don't want to like feel it like in a false ego kind of way, but it just really made me feel like I was able to do something and serve him and the devotees, and that's everything. So thank you.
You definitely served. If anybody doesn't know, Kalachandji wrote a biography of Ayendra, who was this very serious, I mean, he was just so sincere devotee. Very inspiring to many of us. I've read the book and it was next level. This was before I even knew Kalachandji. So when I heard that he wrote the book, I was like, whoa. Because it really, I mean, Ayendra was a person who just like lived it no matter who was looking. And
Yeah.
and just he just lived it. It was just him to the core. And one thing that stuck out with me in that book, talk about consideration, is that he wouldn't eat until his deities ate. And so sometimes he would be like weak because he just, with all his services, he wouldn't have time. But he still, until he did his puja, he wouldn't eat until he offered to the deities. And again, you may think, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense. You know, he's weak, he can't just. But what we want to see here is just this such devotion, such just always thinking of Krishna, always putting Krishna first. Just this kind of mentality, this kind of consciousness. That's what these practices can bring us to. I mean, that's the goal of these practices. Were you going to say something, Stella?
No, I was just no, I was just kind of affirming out loud. I forgot I was not muted.
Oh, yeah, that's I remember reading that in your book, Kalachandji.
Yeah, for sure. He showed that. I mean, he just lived that.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many countless examples, but I don't know. That one stuck out to me because I'm such a foodie. I'm like, I cannot imagine not eating all day. But that was sacrifice, his commitment to his devotion. So this is it, by
And putting
engaging in
the book in
these.
the chat.
Oh, Nancy.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. And everybody's realization is so important to me. I just kept on thinking about authenticity when it comes to relationships, honesty and authenticity. And that there are times that I've gone to Krishna and I've been really ticked off. And I've been able to say those things from my heart because if I didn't, I was not really um, having an authentic relationship, by the end, I sometimes write stream of consciousness letters to to Krishna, and start off with some choice words, and by the end I'll apologize for what I've said, but it's really me trying to sometimes even learn what is going on inside of me by having an authentic, being able to express myself honestly, and then I come around to understanding a little bit about myself. But really, when we say you matter to me, it really means I am willing to be my true self with you. And even if that's ugly sometimes. And, the prayers of, please let me weep in your presence, there's a lot of times that I don't feel that, but other times I do. And is it wrong? Am I not, does Krishna not matter to me because I'm not weeping? And or does it matter more to somebody that is? I don't know. I'm not saying that that's not true, but I think that, I just have to be real. I have to be authentic, and I have to be myself. So thank you so much.
Yes. Wow. Really nice share. Thank you, Nancy. And I just totally agree with that. Krishna is just looking when we say, matter to me, give me your heart. It's not like this facade of a heart that no, he wants your real heart. So wherever you are, he's wants you to offer that to him, to connect with him from wherever you are. And he has no judgment. He has only love and acceptance. And the reason even that we talk about, elevating your consciousness so that you can get to the place in relationship where you can show up for him is really also just so that you can get more connection out of the relationship. It's really still, it's like he just gives unlimitedly. And yeah, really nice. Thanks, Nancy. Such real reminders. Anybody else? And this is such a beautiful part of our tradition, in our tradition, Krishna comes as Chaitanya to experience the mood of a devotee because he recognizes that the highest form of love is to serve your beloved, and he wants to experience that. It's really just like quite a mind trip. But this is it, when we can really get into that mood that of service. This is the highest form of love. This is the highest form of joy that we can even, and connection that we can experience. And we can have these kinds of feelings and emotions and commitment. So, and a lot of that means getting out of our own way, means cleaning up the mess in our minds. Even that time at Super Soul, when I think back on that, things that I was attached to, that I was kind of mourning over, it's like they were really just kind of impeding my devotion, getting in the way of my devotion. And not that they were good or bad, but that's what was happening. Old like patterns, relationship patterns with people, and it was just getting in the way of my devotion. So we really have to clean up our minds so that we can more fully and wholly connect with God. So it's a big part of the work. Thank you all for those shares. So that's really the message here, or the point here in this point that we're making, is that by engaging in devotional activities, we stay connected through the dry phases. And over time, that steady connection purifies the heart and increases our access to devotional emotion again. So even if it's dry, even if you're not feeling it, just do it. Just do it. Stay committed, stay steady, and just that action will purify our hearts and increase our ability to experience this devotional emotion again, and deeper and longer and more often. And not because we're chasing it, but because we're honoring the relationship, and Krishna reciprocates tenfold. So this is the invitation. As spiritual seekers, we're invited to see devotion less as a mood and more as a commitment. So less as something that we wait to feel, and more something that we choose to live. And people say this all the time. You get home from a big retreat or a kirtan or a pilgrimage, and you're like, it's not there anymore. I don't feel it anymore. Sometimes it brings you pretty low, especially like if at the very beginning of bhakti, and then you're in this super immersive experience, and then all of a sudden you're not, and you're like, well, what happened? But the reality is that if we're committed to these practices, and we're committed we're committed to doing them consistently and sincerely, it will come. And it may take a little bit more impetus than it does in such an immersive experience like a pilgrimage or a retreat. But it will come. But we have to choose to live it. We can't just expect it to be one-sided and just come to us. Yeah. Madhuri.
You said something just a moment ago, which I would like you to elaborate upon, if you can, relationships patterns were in my way, were in the way of my devotion. I had to clear those patterns. Would you say more?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. I have had some dysfunctional relationships in life, especially with like, I guess even with like my parents, there was some dysfunctional relationship dynamics there. And then they play out in other relationships as you move forward in life. And then it's like continuously made aware, at least to me anyway, of like this pattern that I enter these relationships into, and then the attachment that I put on these relationships because I'm not healed from these other relationships.
Mm,
And then I get so pulled into it that I'm kind of far away from the real point, which is to serve God. And this even happens in service. I mean, this is part of the purification process in service. And so when we practice bhakti, what we're doing is we're affirming that God is the center of our lives, that God is the most important relation. Our relationship with God is ultimately the most fulfilling and brings the greatest joy to the heart. That's what we're doing when we practice bhakti practices. We're affirming this. And we know this is true, but we don't always feel it on every level because we're so pulled and caught by our conditioning. And especially when we first come into bhakti, all we have is conditioning. We have like a big bucket, just all we are is just conditioning. And then maybe with good intentions, but still we have a lot of conditioning. So even if we're doing service, it might not always be so easy to see and to live in a way that to God's desire, to live in it may not always be so clear because we're so caught up by our conditioning. So because I was kind of distracted by playing out some of those unhealthy relationship dynamics, and therefore I couldn't really see clearly what was the best way to serve.
mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just in my life now where I'm seeing all this different, more clearly than before, different patterns of my behavior. And I'm like, oh no, Krishna, help me. How strong the conditions are. It's almost like, anyway, it takes a lot of conscious effort and a lot of self-awareness and a lot of slowing down for me, at least, and pausing to see what I'm doing in my relationships, in my behavior, in my inner thinking patterns.
Yes, totally. And it's so layered. It's
Oh, yeah.
so it's so layered. Like that was a big one for me at that time in my life. But I'm feeling like I'm getting ready to go through another one when like I'm getting so many different opportunities for service and I'm just saying yes, yes, yes. And I'm realizing that I'm just like such a people pleaser and that I'm just like I want to make this person happy. I want to make so I'm just saying yes to everybody. That in that I kind of start to lose myself. So
Mm.
that's even that, I'm just kind of sharing something personal that I'm going through right now, is like trying to kind of etch away this part of me that is a people pleaser that kind of keeps me from even connecting with my full potential. And that's what these things do. And when we're not connecting with our full potential, we're not connecting with God. We're not
Say it
living
again. Can you
truly.
say it
When we're
again?
not, I mean, when we're not connecting with our full potential, we're not connecting with God. Because the
Mm.
same thing that's keeping us from connecting to our full potential is keeping us from connecting to God. So these things just come up again and again, and it's layered because we're, like you said, we're just full of conditioning. And this is one
Yes.
that's coming up for me right now, and it's confronting because now I have a family and I can't do it all. I'm like I don't just like don't have the time, and then I'm feeling
Remember you said
conflicted.
me?
Yeah. So anyway, these things will
Yeah.
come up again and again, and it's invitations to deepen our relationships with ourselves and deepen our relationships with God, ultimately, because that's what we're here for.
See, can I ask something else, or can I?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you said that it's we need to access to our potential, full potential to really serve Krishna.
Yeah.
And then I like to see always some other angles of you hear me. And yet there is this, I would say, concept, although I experience it very little bit, of being an instrument. See, when we are pure, it's not a question of potential, isn't
Mm,
it? I'm just, I like
yeah.
that because Krishna can use someone even though they didn't access their potential
Well, that is your
because of
potential.
that is your potential. Oh,
That
so
is
that's
your
a question
potential.
of how you define the potential here.
Yeah, I mean, none of it's yours. Your potential isn't yours. It's your ability to it's your capacity to connect with God and be used as an instrument in his service, but we get in the way of that.
I love it.
Yeah, the
Yes.
potential is never yours. We know that as spiritualists.
Mm, that's so much true.
Yeah, which is nice too because you can never get proud of it. You can
Yes.
never, oh, I'm so great. If you do, you're kind of you're under illusion. I mean, not even kind of, you are. Yeah, but at the same time, when things aren't going, in a way that's quote unquote successful, you also don't need to feel bad about it, right? We just try our best
Right.
and we trust that we're led by God. But as if, as I'm trying, as I'm deviating off the path because I have this need to please this person so that I feel better about myself, my conditioning is taken over and I'm not, my capacity to be an instrument for God is, I've kind of hijacked it.
Mhm. So that would requires the clarity of what actually is your service, what Krishna wants you to do in order for you to say no sometimes. Is that what you are saying?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And there's many factors here, but the biggest thing is instructions we get from our gurus.
Right.
I mean, and to me, this is what I keep coming back to. This is
Mhm.
instructions from guru and sadhu sastra. These the three things that help us to,
Mhm.
yeah, determine the best way
Could
for
it
us.
could it be like what's impacting your most important service? I mean, you have a young child. That's like number one.
Yeah, exactly. And that's actually what
That
my
is your
guru told me
service.
was number one.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I remember in those years too, it's like saying no is easier when you know that, a child is not something you can manage around. They're their own force,
right.
and saying no sometimes is the best service to your child. So
Yes. Yes, exactly. And we also have to honor our natures too. There's an element to that too. We have to honor our natures because we need that inner fulfillment to even be externally, or we need that inner peace to even be externally effective. So there's a balance too of being true to yourself in that. So there's lots of layers, just like everything in life, layers.
And angles, because you can look at things from so
And
many different
angles. Yes.
perspectives. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
the last part what you said about honoring our nature because it's something which, as you said, it's Krishna's. What Krishna invested in us, the potential,
Yes.
what Krishna invested in us,
Yes.
what gifts he wants us to give back.
Yes, and the Gita tells us that we have to act within our natures. I mean, that's an instruction of the Gita. So we should, if we're acting outside of our nature, or if we're engaging it too much outside of our nature, it can create dissonance inside of us that then is reflected outside because we're still conditioned beings. So there's even, a formula when we're still in this world, how we need to act so that we can try to start to harmonize with God's desires. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. That's
Yeah. So that's what this verse is urging us to do. Fix the mind on God, offer respect, bow, serve. These are tangible ways of saying, I'm here, I'm invested. And when we start to do this, when we start to conceptualize devotion as action, not just emotion, we become empowered. We become empowered. That empowerment comes from source, comes from God. We can tolerate the dry seasons without panic. We can stop assuming that something's wrong when inspiration dips. And by preserving in these practices, we'll gradually move towards this purification and lasting satisfaction. Just like a healthy marriage, it deepens not by chasing emotion, but by steady presence. Devotion matures not by depending on feelings, but by this consistent, loving dedication. And in time, if we can cultivate this consistent, loving dedication, the feeling returns stronger, steadier, rooted more and more rooted in something real. This is why we stress the importance of sadhana, everyday sadhana, even at however long it is. Say you only have 10 minutes a day. Wake up, make this your routine. You do this this consistency, this showing up. We're training ourselves. And Krishna sees that and Krishna reciprocates. Okay, so this verse is actually the conclusion of chapter 9. And this is why the Acharyas describe it as the essence of the essence of the essence of the essence. Okay, because the Gita itself is considered the essence of all Vedic wisdom. And then within the Gita, those middle 6 chapters, that's the heart, the bhakti sections. It's a focus of bhakti. Chapter 9, within the sections, the bhakti section, bhakti chapters, chapter 9 is the most intimate and confidential part. And then this verse, this is the distilled message. So it's the essence of the essence of the essence. I think it's 4 essences. Gita is the essence of Vedic wisdom. Within the Gita, the middle 6 chapters, the essence of the Gita. The 9th chapter is the essence of those 6 chapters. And then this verse, it's the distilled message. It's the heart of the heart of the heart. Everything Krishna is saying has been pointing here. This is not to an abstract truth, not to an impersonal absolute, but to a personal relationship with him. Think of me, love me, offer yourself to me. And Krishna says with complete confidence, you will come to me. It's not a metaphor. This is a promise. So that's it, folks. That's all that we have today. Do we have any final reflections?
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, please.
It's a side note. So the second thing Krishna says here, he says, actually, think you of me first, and then offer obeisances, and then worship me. So there's this beautiful class by Radhika Raman about offering obeisances. One of the best classes I've heard in my life on that topic. We do it so often, and there is so much depth into actually paying obeisances. The way he was doing, the one thing I remember that, when we are putting our hands forward, we can think about trying to touch Krishna's lotus feet. But it's like incredible. Anyway, just to let
Maybe
you
you can
know.
share it on our live chat.
Yeah, I'm going to find it. That's on your YouTube channel. That's on the
Our live
Gita.
chat?
Yeah, where is it?
No, let me add you to our live chat. It's a WhatsApp group. It's for like our live crew that comes live. If anybody wants to be on our live chat, comes live. It's just a place we all connect through the week and share different things and inspiration. So
Also, it's
yeah,
a
I'll add you.
WhatsApp group. Yeah,
Yeah,
please.
it's a WhatsApp group. Text me. Anybody else can text me too if you want to be on it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Because it's interesting. Krishna doesn't say he specifically mentions obeisances here. And you
Yeah.
would think why he doesn't mention something else, not even chanting his names, which is worship, part of worship. 3 things: think, pay obeisances, and
And
worship.
worship. Yeah.
Pay
Want to
obeisance.
talk about your retreat, Radha, before you leave?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank
Inviting.
you. The Rise Up retreat in April 16th through the 19th. We have an extra day this year by popular request. So it's a Thursday night through a Sunday afternoon. It's going to be a ton of fun. It's going to be all the things: deep conversation, deep association, lots of kirtan, lots of fun and like just creative play. We're going to have dance classes, and I think we're going to do a chai, like a paint and chai. All a sound bath. I mean, it's going to be really fun. So you can sign up on the New Vrindavan website. It's just ladies. Sorry, men. But this is just ladies in April. at New Vrindavan. Please come. And if you need help with airport transportation or anything, just text me and we'll help figure that out. Flying to Pittsburgh Airport, by the way. Oh, and all proceeds go to benefit the widows of Vrindavan. So all proceeds go to to help widows
Is there is
in
there a
Vrindavan.
specific charity, a name of a charity that the money's going to?
Yeah, so Vedasar, do you know Vedasar? Oh, you know Vedasar.
Yeah, yeah.
He's kind of he's trying to raise a certain amount each month this year to send them these packages, and we'll have like a nice little presentation at the retreat to go over
Okay.
what all of this
Okay.
is. Yeah, but I just talked to him about this the other night, some of the things that are in the packages, and he's working with the group there, though. Every time he goes on pilgrimage, they volunteer at the women's shelter, and I think he's developed some relationships there at the women's shelter.
Oh, thank you for that. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
nice to hear the more detail. Thanks.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Thank you, Stella. Okay. Anybody else before we end for the day?
This class, thank you. I'm putting on a
Thank you.
sorry.
Oh, we wish you could come. Thank you all. Thanks. Good to see you, George. Good to see you. Going to work. Okay, my friends. We'll see you
Good morning,
Monday.
everyone.
Good morning. I'm going to stop this.